one video, one man with a camera and a wrench. And somehow, he brought down one of the most powerful automotive dynasties on the planet. Porsche, worth billions, just walked away from Bugatti. Not quietly, not slowly. They ran. And the timing? Suspicious doesn't even begin to cover it. Because right before this happened, Mat Armstrong posted something that shook the entire car world to its core. So today, we're going deeper than anyone has gone before. Stay with me, because this story, it gets insane. If you don't know Mat Armstrong, where have you been? This guy is not your average YouTuber. He's not sitting in a studio talking about cars. He gets his hands dirty. Literally. He buys wrecked supercars. Cars that dealerships write off. Cars that insurance companies throw in the trash. And he rebuilds them from nothing with his own hands, in his own garage. And along the way, he films everything. Every bolt, every problem, every shocking discovery hiding underneath those million-dollar body panels. And that last part? That's exactly what started all of this. Because Matt didn't just rebuild a Bugatti. He exposed one. And what he found inside, that car sent shockwaves through the entire industry. We're talking about a vehicle that was sold officially, professionally, as a fully functioning, road-ready hypercar. A car with a price tag most people couldn't even dream about. And underneath that gorgeous exterior, disaster, hidden damage, covered-up repairs, things that should never pass any quality inspection, let alone one from a brand that calls itself the pinnacle of automotive engineering. But here's what nobody knew at the time. This wasn't just one bad car. This was a pattern. Matt started pulling at one thread, and the whole sweater unraveled. Let's go back to the beginning, because context here is everything. Bugatti is not just a car brand. It's a symbol. It's a statement. When someone buys a Bugatti, they're not buying transportation. They're buying a piece of history. They're buying exclusivity. They're buying the promise that what they're getting is absolutely, completely, without question, perfect. That's the deal. That's the unspoken contract between Bugatti and every single person who hands over $2, $3, sometimes $4 million for one of these machines. And for decades, that contract held. Bugatti's reputation was untouchable. Nobody questioned it. Nobody dared. Until Mat Armstrong pointed a camera at one and said, "Wait a minute, something isn't right here." The video dropped and the internet lost its mind. Comments were flooding in from all directions. Other mechanics, other rebuilders, people in the industry, all of them saying the same thing. They'd seen this before. They'd noticed things. But nobody had ever put on camera and shown the world. Matt did. And once you see something like that, you can't unsee it. The damage was done. And not just the Bugatti's reputation. Now here's where it gets really interesting. And this is the part most channels are not talking about. Porsche didn't just own a share of Bugatti. Porsche, through the Volkswagen Group, was the backbone of Bugatti's entire motor operation. We're talking about the engineering partnerships, the manufacturing decisions, the brand direction. All of it had Porsche's fingerprints on it. So when Matt's video started circulating, when the comment section started exploding, when automotive journalists started asking hard questions, Porsche wasn't just watching from a distance. They were eyeing it. They were part of the story, whether they wanted to be or not. And then came the silence. That very specific, very calculated, very loud kind of corporate silence that tells you everything you need to know. No statement. No defense. No press conference. Just quiet. And in the business world, that kind of quiet usually means one thing. Someone is making a decision behind closed doors. Someone is running numbers. Someone is looking at a spreadsheet and asking, is this worth it? Is this brand, with all this baggage, with all these questions now swirling around it, is it worth standing next to? The answer, apparently, was no, because out of nowhere, boom, the announcement hits. Porsche is divesting from Bugatti. They're stepping back. They're separating themselves from the brand entirely. And the official reasons given? Vague. Strategic restructuring. Focusing on core competencies. The usual corporate language that sounds like it means something, but actually tells you absolutely nothing. But you know what's not vague? The timing. The timing is crystal clear. Mat Armstrong's expose drops. The internet erupts. Questions start getting asked at the highest levels, and within a very short window, Porsche is gone. Now, are we saying Mat Armstrong single-handedly destroyed a billion-dollar corporate partnership? Maybe not entirely. There were likely other factors. There always are in decisions as massive. But to sit here and pretend that the timing is just a coincidence? That the exposure played zero role? That the reputational damage meant nothing? Come on, you're smarter than that. And so is Porsche. But here's what nobody is talking about, and this might be the most shocking part of this entire story. This isn't actually about one car, or one video, or even one partnership falling apart. This is about accountability, real accountability, in an industry that has, for a very long time, operated in the shadows. Think about it. These are products that cost more than most people's houses. Products that are marketed with words like precision and perfection and uncompromising quality. And yet, who's checking? Who's actually lifting the hood, getting underneath, pulling back the panels, and asking hard questions? Dealerships have a financial incentive to sell. Manufacturers have a financial incentive to protect their image. The whole system is built around maintaining the illusion. And then Mat Armstrong comes along with a YouTube channel and just breaks it. Not with lawyers. Not with investigative journalism backed by a major network, with a garage, a camera, and a refusal to stay quiet about what he finds. That's the story here. That's what makes this massive. One person with integrity can still shake an entire industry. And the industry? They're terrified, because if it happened to Bugatti, it can happen to anyone. Now, let's talk about the reaction, because the community response to all of this has been absolutely wild. The comments on Mat's videos were pouring in from people who had purchased high-end vehicles and suddenly started questioning everything. Former dealership employees were sliding into comment sections sharing their own stories. Independent mechanics were posting their own findings. It became this avalanche of information that the brands simply could not control. No PR team in the world is fast enough to get ahead of that kind of momentum once it starts rolling. And Mat himself, the way he handled all of this, showed exactly why he's earned the trust he has. He didn't exaggerate. He didn't sensationalize beyond what the evidence showed. He just documented. He let the camera roll and let people see what he was seeing. And that's actually more devastating than any dramatic headline could ever be. Because it's real. Because it's undeniable. Because there it is, right in front of your face, and nobody can spin it away. Here's another layer to this that most people are completely missing. When a brand like Bugatti takes a hit like this, when their quality gets questioned publicly, when their corporate partners start walking away, the ripple effects go far beyond just the company itself. Think about the owners. Think about the people who spent $3 million on one of these cars. What happens to the value of their vehicle when the brand's reputation collapses? What happens when they try to sell? What happens when the questions Mat raised start appearing in every appraisal and every insurance valuation? These are real financial consequences for real people. And nobody warned them. Nobody protected them. They trusted the brand. They trusted the badge. And now they're left holding a very expensive, very complicated question mark. That's not just a business story anymore. That's personal. That affects lives. And that is why this matters beyond the drama and beyond the headlines. But wait, because just when you think the story is settling down, just when you think the dust is starting to clear, another wrinkle appears. Word starts coming out that this isn't the first time concerns have been raised internally about Bugatti's quality control processes. That there had been whispers. That people inside the industry, people who knew things, had been uncomfortable for a while. But nobody talked. Nobody went on record. Nobody was willing to be the one to say it out loud. And then Mat Armstrong said it out loud, with video evidence, on YouTube, for millions of people to see. And suddenly those whispers didn't feel so quiet anymore. This is the part that should make every automotive brand on earth sit up straight. Because if it can come out about Bugatti, one of the most prestigious, most protected, most untouchable names in the entire industry, then the walls are down. The era of unchecked luxury brand mythology is over. The camera is everywhere. The community is watching. And the next Mat Armstrong is already out there in a garage somewhere, pulling apart a car, about to find something that nobody is supposed to see. Let's zoom out for a second, because there's a bigger picture here that connects all of this together beautifully. We are living in a moment where individual creators, people with no corporate backing, no institutional power, no multi-million-dollar production budgets, are holding billion-dollar industries accountable in ways that traditional media simply isn't doing. And it's happening across every sector. But in the automotive world, in the luxury car space specifically, Mat Armstrong has become the most important voice. Not because he's the loudest, but because he's the most honest. Because he goes where the story is, even when the story is uncomfortable. Even when powerful companies would prefer he stay quiet. And Porsche walking away from Bugatti right after his expose, whether it's directly connected or not, it sends a message. It tells the market that the questions Mat raised were serious enough to factor into a billion-dollar business decision. You don't walk away from Bugatti over nothing. You walk away when the risk is real, when the damage is real. When the questions being asked by a guy in a garage in England are the same questions being asked in boardrooms across Europe. Now here's where I want to get really real with you for a second. Some people watching this are going to say, this is too much. Mat's just a YouTuber. He rebuilds cars. This connection is being exaggerated. And look, I hear that. Skepticism is healthy. Not every coincidence is a conspiracy. But consider this. Porsche made this decision at a very specific moment in time, in a climate where Bugatti's reputation was actively being questioned publicly, in a moment when the brand was under scrutiny it had never faced before. And they chose that moment to exit. Whether Mat's video was a trigger or just a final straw on a pile of concerns that had been building, the result is the same. Bugatti is now navigating a future without one of its most powerful backers. And the questions Mat raised are still out there, still unanswered, still hanging over every Bugatti sale, every Bugatti valuation, every Bugatti conversation happening right now in the automotive world. That's a legacy. That's an impact that goes way beyond views and subscribers. And Mat Armstrong, whether he fully realizes it yet or not, has permanently changed how people look at luxury automotive brands. That genie is not going back in the bottle. So, where does this go from here? What happens next for Bugatti? What happens to the owners caught in the middle? And honestly, what happens to Mat Armstrong himself? Because when you shake trees this big, sometimes things fall on you too. There's already been pushback. There's already been pressure. And you can bet that the people the most to lose are watching every single video, looking for any opening, any mistake, anything they can use. But here's the thing about someone who operates with transparency, someone who shows you everything, who documents everything, who lets the evidence speak for itself. There's very little to attack. The truth is a pretty solid defense. And the community around Mat, the millions of people who have watched him work, who have trusted his process, who have seen firsthand that what he shows them is real, that community is a wall, a massive wall, and it's not going anywhere. This is what accountability looks like in 2024. Not a Senate hearing, not a corporate whistleblower with lawyers and NDAs, a guy in a garage, a camera, and the courage to show people what he actually finds. Porsche walking away from Bugatti right after Mat Armstrong's expose might be the most dramatic proof, yet that the automotive world will never be the same. The powerful can't hide behind their logos anymore. The price tag is no longer a guarantee of quality. And the next time a luxury brand tries to sell you perfection, there's a community of millions ready to ask, but has Mat Armstrong looked at it yet? All right, if you made it this far, you already know the story is nowhere near over. There are more questions than answers right now, and I want to know what you think. Do you believe Porsche's exit is directly connected to Mat's expose? Or is this just the automotive industry doing what it always does, making quiet moves for reasons they'll never fully explain? Drop your take in the comments right now. I read every single one. And if this video opened your eyes to something you didn't know before, smash that like button. Seriously, it takes half a second, and it means everything for getting this story in front of more people who need to hear it. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we're going to keep following this story wherever it leads. And trust me, based on everything happening right now, it is going to lead somewhere wild. Stay locked in. I'll see you in the next one. And here's the thing that keeps coming back to me. The thing I cannot stop thinking about no matter how many times I run through this entire story from beginning to end. We talk about disruption all the time. We throw that word around like it means nothing. Every app, every startup, every guy in a hoodie with a pitch deck calls himself a disruptor. But real disruption, the kind that actually moves mountains, the kind that makes billion-dollar corporations quietly pack their bags and walk away from deals they spent years building, that looks different. That feels different. Real disruption doesn't announce